Marketing is all about experimentation.
Yeah, it's a personalized healthcare company that uses AI.
The other very important factor, whether you're a B2C or B2B company in FinTech and financial services, is to understand the local customer behavior. Don't build a brand, build a movement.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Heuristic Code podcast. Today, we welcome Alex Romanovich, a leader in global business management and growth consultancy. With over 25 years experience, Alex has driven transformational strategies for major brands, including IBM and American Express. His fintech background includes his role as managing advisor partner at We Found Health and FinTech Meet Health Tech Startup. As a Forbes Business Council member, Alex specializes in digital and AI transformation, international businesses, and market entry strategies. Today's discussion will center on global expansion and digital transformation in the fintech space, leveraging Alex's extensive experience. Well, Alex, I'm happy to have you on the show. Let's start. What's happening right now? What's your current focuses?
Alex, thank you for having me. Alex, I guess, talking about fintech and what's happening in the world. And I like the way you pronounce my last name, Romanovich. That's the old-fashioned way. Typically, Americans and globally, they will pronounce it as Romanovich. But Romanovich is the Eastern European way, which is great.
Yeah, you know why I pronounce it right.
Of course.
I try pronouncing my last name.
Correct. Well, we're doing quite a bit right now. GlobalEdgeMarkets is the derivative of the digital marketing agency that I used to have in New York City on Madison Avenue. And in 2019, we've transformed into a global business management consultancy. It's still a boutique firm. We're not a large organization. We're about 10 people plus. But we're primarily concentrating on softening the global expansion, softening the landing, if you will, in various parts of the world for a number of companies, number of sizes as well. So we work with a lot of the early stage companies. We also work with a lot of the mature mid-size and enterprise-based companies as well, and we do quite a bit with digital transformation work, with obviously with Agentic AI that's taking place right now, and we and a variety of strategies that range anywhere from how do we actually adapt to the new markets, how do we take our products and services to new markets, to a lot of the execution-based work, such as how do we change our entire user experience, or how do we change our branding to fit the destination market. So this is a very fascinating type of environment, and the reason we kind of delve into it is because I've traveled to over 75 countries worldwide. I've done business in about 10, so it was easier for me to consider this type of a business, which still requires me to travel quite a bit, and to help companies, assist companies in global expansion.
Impressive. So as you mentioned, you worked with both scale-ups and enterprises on digital transformations. How has the digital landscape changed? The traditional approaches to global expansion, and what strategies have become more effective as a result?
Great question, by the way. And in digital, again, I'm comparing this to, let's say, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Digital has changed quite a bit. As you know, we now have an advancement of artificial intelligence, and not just in terms of generative AI, where folks are using it to in conversations or to develop content or what have you, but also in how AI is transforming a number of organizations in terms of agents, agentic AI, if you will, how it helps with automation, how it helps with cloud computing, how it helps with a number of different processes inside of organizations that are being transformed through the use of an implementation of artificial intelligence. Now, I used to be a developer a long time ago. I used to be a technology architect working for IBM. And I could never imagine that we would be able to generate code. We would be able to replace even some of the functions, and in many cases, some of the careers, if you will, inside of an organization with the advances of artificial intelligence. So it provided for the companies much lower barriers to entry. So you can now do faster research. You can now do faster competitive research, if you will. You can do a lot of market research that is available to you a lot easier, a lot faster. The data-driven decision-making has transformed quite a bit as well. You now have a lot more data available, and the data is a lot more precise. And that's not because you're putting something into ChatGPT or Grok 3 and getting some information out of it, but because you can now merge and fuse artificial intelligence with your existing legacy data. Not without risks, of course, but you can certainly do it much, much faster. As far as the financial services is concerned and fintech, the advances for the fintech companies, the advantages for the fintech companies are many as well. You now can embed finances and investment, digital investment, and crowdfunding into a number of different partner-based applications, into a number of different business processes. So instead of launching standalone fintech products, you can now embed those into existing products, into existing platforms much, much easier through the use of API and also through the use of AI as well. The cross-border payments and crypto obviously is advancing as well. Decentralized finance, DeFi, and a number of crypto-based and blockchain-based advancements allowing you to do business much, much easier and in a much more predictable fashion. And of course, let's not forget about regulation and regulatory environment. Sort of RegTech is also beginning to provide some advantages, and those processes are being automated, and those processes are being enhanced through the use of AI. So there's a lot going on in digital. There's a lot going on in digital and fintech. And I think all of this is going to continue to explode in the massive format to benefit the not only the consumer and not only the organizations, but also to benefit the developers, the companies developing products, productizing their services, and so forth.
Let's talk a bit about another aspect of digital transformation and its international expansion, in a sense. In your opinion, what are the most overlooked but crucial factors that determine whether a fintech company succeeds or fails when it's expanding internationally?
What's interesting about the expansion is, as I mentioned before, the RegTech, the regulatory environment, the regulatory complexity, hopefully becoming less and less complex, right? So when you expand, and let's say you're a fintech company or you're trying to offer financial services in the company, a lot of companies are underestimating the importance of the regulatory environments, right? And I think that's one very important aspect of global expansion and understanding of the destinations where you're trying to expand into, right? And a good example is, PayPal is very, from a financial gateway standpoint, PayPal is very well known in the United States, for example, and WeChat Pay is very well known in China, right? But we know very little about WeChat Pay in the United States and vice versa, right? So it's extremely important to understand the regulatory complexities when it comes to international expansion. The other very important factor, whether you're a B2C or B2B company in fintech and financial services, is to understand the local customer behavior, and not just the consumer side, but also on the B2B side as well. So, credit cards are still very prevalent in the United States, mobile wallets, very prevalent in Asia. And then again, we're beginning to adapt very quickly in the United States. And however, we're still a little bit more traditional when it comes to fintech and so forth. So when you expand into Asia or vice versa, if you're an Asian company trying to expand into the United States, you have to consider those things as well. Excuse me. Talent acquisition, talent management, cultural adaptations, all of those pieces are extremely important. I used to work for IBM, and we always talked about cultural adaptation and how we should always hire local resources. We should always go with, adapting marketing, local marketing strategies and tactics. I spent 3 years with a company called Global Advertising Strategies, and that company was dedicated to cultural adaptation, to helping global brands adapt to local communities, to adapt to local sentiments, if you will, and so forth. So that's another very important piece of the puzzle. And clearly, the other piece that's extremely important is the scalability of the infrastructure. How well can you scale as you expand? And that scalability could also be achieved, or a smoother scalability could also be achieved through local partnerships, local providers, and so forth and so on. So a great example, by the way, a great case study of what I'm describing is Stripe. Stripe has shown and has proven that they could absolutely prioritize the regulatory compliance. They could localize the checkout, checkout processes and experiences. So if you're using Stripe in the United States, it's one experience. If you're using Stripe in a different country, it's another experience. And they've been able to very successfully partner and expand their platform through partnerships with local financial institutions.
Can you share any case where a company leveraged digital transformation, to expand globally, and maybe they faced unexpected challenges or lessons learned that fintech firms can take from that experience?
So, great question, Alex. There are a lot of successes. Of course, there are a lot of failures. One of those mishaps, if you will, was a company called N26. It was a German neobank. I actually was a fractional chief marketing officer for a similar neobank called Cogni. But in this particular case, Germans entered the U.S. market with a company called N26 and struggled a little bit because they underestimated the bureaucracy, the local banking experiences, expectations, regulatory hurdles. That's why I think the regulations and the regulatory compliance factors are extremely important. So those things are not to be overlooked by the fintech and financial services companies, especially if you're trying to operate in the international waters. Don't have the support, local support, or partner-based support, legal support, compliance support, and so forth and so on.
That's a good case. I'll look it up. I'll probably post a link in the description of the case study. It's interesting. I've never heard about it before.
Yeah, N26.
Let's talk about the technology aspect, international expansion. So beyond usual CRMs and data analytics tools, what emerging technologies do you think will redefine how companies enter new markets?
Well, I think it's obvious that when it comes to competitive advantage and advantages through technologies, you have to be very well equipped. You have to have the talent. You have to have the ability to quickly adapt to changes in the market, and through the use of tech-enabled type of solutions. So I mentioned those before: agentic AI, embedded AI into a number of different processes that your company may have, and also solutions that allow you, through the use of API, through the use of artificial intelligence, to quickly integrate and adapt to your target environment, be it a client, be it a partner, and so forth. And hopefully do it cost effectively, because if you have to every time you enter a new market, every time you enter a new environment, if you have to redevelop, if you have to reintegrate and so forth, that's not going to be a very cost-effective or efficient solution. So you have to kind of architect this ahead of time. And I always say that I think the global expansion, especially today, aside from some of the differences we may have as a country or as an environment globally, everybody's probably following what's going on right now with the threat of tariffs, with the threat of decentralized or isolated type of environments and business conduct. You have to be able to almost foresee all of these items, right? So when you architect the solution, when you develop something as a company, as you're developing a product, you have to have global and you have to have those risks in place, and you have to be prepared for that. So I would say assess those risks, assess the risks involved with expansion, look at the target audiences, look at the target environments, look at technology availability, if you will, in terms of what may be available for the for the environment, and then proceed architect your solution in such a way.
I'd like to tap into your marketing expertise and background with branding and building trust, because getting into new market, every startup may face credibility issues, how to establish credibility in that markets. And you've worked with global brands like IBM, American Express. Maybe you can share branding and trust building strategies that fintech companies may adopt to gain consumer and regulatory trust.
Yeah, the marketing strategies, right?
Yeah, the branding and trust building strategies that fintech companies may adopt to gain consumer and regulatory trust.
So let's talk about the marketing strategies and what brands should do, whether they're new brands, small brands, if you will, or they're well established. Clearly, for very large organizations, again, I want to go back to regulatory compliance and being, having that capability, having that, skill, if you will, on how to navigate in those types of waters. So if you're a startup and you're trying to establish your brand in another organization, you have to build the trust first and foremost. It's all based on trust and credibility. So the first very important component of that is the regulatory compliance, understanding of regulations, especially in the heavily regulated market segments, such as healthcare, such as fintech, financial services, and so forth. The other piece that's going to be extremely important for brands to establish marketing presence, obviously all of those traditional and non-traditional marketing approaches, right? So definitely have to have the content and support your presence, your expansion with relevant, personalized content, which is very possible right now with artificial intelligence, engagement with some of the local pundits, some of the local influencers, and so forth. And what can help with that is partnership with some of the established players in the market. Co-branding with well-known financial institutions, co-branding with well-known technology institutions in the space, and so forth. Obviously, your brand has to be transparent. So if you're dealing with a consumer audience, that trust is built through transparency, through thought leadership expertise, and through personalization, right? So those three very important components. As far as your partners are concerned, transparency can be achieved through developing APIs and engaging with APIs, application programming interfaces, and dealing with the transparent changes that might be taking place in your platform vis-a-vis your partners, and also changes in your pricing structure. For example, if you're dealing with consumers and if you're dealing with consumer confidence. So honesty, transparency, partnership with established players, compliance is a differentiator, understanding of the regulations is a differentiator, and localized customer support and user experience. That's very important. And by the way, I want to underscore how important it is to how important user experience, UI, UX, and customer journey in marketing and persona analysis, how important that is when you enter new markets and expand into new markets. One of the most extremely important components of the puzzle is the not only just native language support, but also understanding of how consumer navigates, how consumer experiences, in the destination, how they experience the service or the product, and that is all coming through research, trial and error, obviously a little bit of that, and pilots, lots of A/B testing. But prior to that, persona analysis and working with your partners to establish that as well.
I think we speak about AI and agentic AI pretty much at every episode that we record these days because it's such a change in the technology and it impacts everything. And you also brought up, that technology, agentic AI and AI in general, in answering previous questions. From your perspective, what are the most innovative and unconventional applications of AI that could give fintech companies a true competitive edge?
Absolutely. And I'll actually even use some of the companies that we worked with that are very sort of on the forefront of that. So a lot of the use cases in innovation for AI, for example, synthesizing data and in fraud detection, right? I think that's what's being used right now in fraud, sort of a next iteration in fraud detection, and understanding the fake customer data, for example. We used to work with a company that has progressed dramatically and tremendously and became extremely successful in that space alone, in social fraud detection, in now AI-generated detection of fake customer data. And that's a company called Secure. And what Secure has done is they've used customer data to improve fraud detection without violation of any privacy laws by partnering with very major financial organizations and using publicly available social data for fraud detection and identification. The other piece is that's been used, the other innovation that's being used in FinTech specifically with the help of AI is what I would call emotion AI for financial advice, right? So think of a use case where when you analyze, if you're in the customer service, for example, you analyze the tone of the customer, if you will, if you analyze the text that's being shared with you, and you tailor, not only you address a particular issue, but you also use that as a feedback into tailoring of the financial advice and also tailoring of the financial product that you may be offering to that particular audience. There are a number of other AI uses for financial services, such as automated wealth management, automated asset management. Obviously, we see in trading, we see a lot of AI generated or AI targeted trading, and so forth. So there are a number of interesting applications of AI in fintech and financial services.
Yeah, definitely. We had few conversations here on this podcast and about asset management, wealth management, and how AI helps it. But it's first time I hear about emotions, and taking that into account. That's interesting concept. I would love.
And I think emotions, and I think very good friends of mine from the past, the chief marketing officer of a company called Effectiva. There was a very interesting company that used emotion, and now that translated, as soon as AI became a lot more emergent, the emotion that is the facial emotion and the voice and tone emotion are being now used. They were used by Effectiva in the automotive industry, for example, but now it's being used in a variety of other sectors, such as financial services, healthcare, and many others. And a lot of that is going to continue to progress.
Interesting. I'd like to tap into your experience in healthcare. You were general manager, CMO, and advisor at, correct me if I'm not pronouncing it right, FINC? Fin?
Think, yes, it's a
Fin.
Japanese health and wellness company called Think. That's correct.
Yeah, it's a personalized healthcare company that uses AI. I'm wondering what insights did you gain from applying AI and data science and health tech that could be applied to fintech for personalized financial services? If we can, bridge
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
two industries.
Absolutely. And actually, there will be a lot of cross-industry based solutions that will be very applicable. Obviously, they would have to be adapted, they would have to be adapted to the industry. But if you, in Think, again, I was working with Think a while ago, maybe 5 years ago, even more.
Mhm.
So the advances in AI were not as strong and not as, innovative, if you will. However, if you look at what's happening in the health and wellness industry, if you look at what's happening in the financial services and fintech industry, that there's a lot of parallels, and those parallels are in the they could be manifested in a variety of ways. First of all, personalization. I think AI can be extremely useful in personalization, whether you are using AI to personalize financial advice or you're using AI to offer a number of options for the trading platform. And I don't mean the options trading. I mean options in terms of where to invest, the portfolio analysis, and so forth. In assessments, in wealth management, asset management type of assessments. All of these things can be paralleled between the two industries. And, in healthcare and wellness, when a physician is performing any type of procedures or what have you, the preparation portion of that can also be extremely helpful. And then post-analysis, if you will, the post-procedural analysis or treatments or, in pharmaceutical industry, trial management and trial analysis, and so forth. Those are very important pieces. They could apply, similar type of things could apply in financial services, financial industry. So that's how I would draw those parallels.
Interesting. In my mind, somehow I bridged, I built a bridge between preparation to the operation in healthcare and preparation to the deal in private equity, like, I don't know, LBO deal or something like that.
Or for consumers, preparation, looking at their portfolio and doing portfolio analysis to assess risks, right? They could be any type of risks. For example, I'm sure that not many consumers were preparing for the risks of inflation or for the risks of rising prices on food and staple items, gasoline, and so forth and so on. Those things come quickly and suddenly, and that's why, but you still have to anticipate those. Certainly nobody ever anticipated COVID-19 in the past, and certainly financially, no one anticipates a financial crash type of events such as the one we had in 2008, and then later on in 2018 and 19, and so forth.
Alex, I'd like to wrap it up with the last question and tap a bit more into your CMO role. You're active member of the CMO Club. You've
Correct.
collaborated with leading CMOs worldwide. So what are some innovative marketing strategies you've encountered that fintech companies can adopt to differentiate themselves?
Sure. Again, I think the marketing discipline is evolving quite a bit right now, and the CMO Club was actually acquired by Salesforce Salesforce.com in 2019. It was then sort of rebranded and transformed, if you will, to something called the Club CMO. I still maintain a lot of relationships with the members of the club, and what I've learned by being associated with the Club CMO and the CMO Club in the past, especially in terms of growth strategies and other strategies as well. I think community-driven growth continues to be a very important aspect of that, a very important aspect of growth and development. The CMO Club is a community to begin with, is a community of very bright international global chief marketing officers. In this particular sense, it's over membership of over 1,000, and the collaboration that takes place within that community is incredible. That can apply to any type of branding and any type of growth for a variety of companies out there. Somebody actually gave me a good piece of advice in the past. I forget who it was, but they said, don't build a brand, build a movement. And what he meant by that was you have to surround yourself with advisors, with partners, and with the community for the brand to be healthy and for the brand to be very well positioned for growth. Obviously, you need to be transparent. Obviously, you need to be honest. All those things we discussed in the past. But I think community-driven growth is absolutely key. The other piece that I've learned by associating with, not only associating with a lot of the leading chief marketing officers, but also being in those shoes for at least 3 times, is now, especially with AI now, personalization has taken a very different approach. But I think personalization and hyper-personalization, a tailored environment, tailored solution to that environment, understanding of your persona, almost semi-automating those processes is also going to be important. And the other piece that's always been with us with marketers is experiment. Marketing is all about experimentation. Marketing is all about understanding the ever-changing sentiment of our audiences, if you will, and maybe even segmenting to different interest groups and subgroups. Segmentation based on geography, segmentation based on behavior, and so forth and so on. So those are 3 important aspects that I've learned by associating with the top chief marketing officers through the club, and also by being one and experimenting with a variety of different marketing tactics and strategy.
That's great. Alex, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate all the experience that you shared with me, with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks. And for the audience, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and see you in the next episodes. Bye.